This is the painting I've been working on last week, here and there. I've decided that I'm gonna be moving away from just like a strict limited palette where I just have white, well, the primary colors in white and black. So yellow, red, and blue. And I'm gonna be adding some more because when I was working on this face, I felt like my limited palette was limiting me, and I wanted to pull some more richer, brighter colors into it. Oh, I'm so pregnant. It's getting hard to get up and down off the floor. So this is my box of spare paint, which I got mostly when I was in college, so before the atelier. And the atelier that I went to, they like have you have like that really limited palette. Before, when I was in college, I used all of these colors and I just bought a bunch of paint when I could because I just love paint so much. I liked to collect it and try and see like if I could use different colors. So a lot of the colors I have I think are kind of crazy and might not work, but I'm gonna go through everything. And I also have some more in my paint drawer, but I'm gonna go through them all, and I just gotta make sure, since I am pregnant, that everything that I'm using is gonna be non-toxic. I have these all in different bags. I organized them, and I don't remember how I organized them. And actually, it's a lot of oil's leaking out of them, so I'm gonna get something to put them down on so I don't get oil on our floor since we're renting. But now I have all of my paint organized. So these are the tubes that I am possibly interested in adding to my palette. So I'm just gonna take some white canvas, a scrap of white canvas, and test them out to see which ones I want to actually add. Here are the test strips. So the top row is all the new colors and the bottom row is what I currently have on my palette. So I'm gonna look through and decide which ones I want to add. This is the next day. Look how pregnant my belly is. Because of that, I'm gonna be sitting down today. So here's my setup now. So I normally stand, but I've got my easel, everything's lower now, so I can sit in that chair. And then I've got TV where I've got the photo reference that I'm looking at. That's the drawing, the work in progress painting. And this is what my palette looks like now I picked out the colors that I wanted to use. And so pretty much the ones that have the strings of white going down them are new colors for me, except for this blue. I've had this blue on my palette, but I just wanted to see it compared to the other blue. And I'm probably not going to use all these colors, but even just seeing, like, wiping off my palette knife, I really like how these colors look, so that'll be fun to play with. What I got at the end of the painting session. I mostly started in the shadow area of the face and then worked outwards into the light area. I'm really liking working with the new colors that are on my palette. I'm finding that I'm able to paint a lot faster, which is really cool. So what I'll do is I'll mix up with my palette knife on my palette a base mixture for an area of the painting. And then when that color needs to shift in color temperature, what I'll do is I'll take my brush and put it in the Prussian blue, and then I'll brush mix on my palette in an area of that base color. So then I'll have some paint that is that base color, but like now it's leaning more towards blue and more cold color, and then I can use that on my painting. Before, with my limited palette, what I would do is I would mix everything on my palette with a palette knife, so I would have all these little mixtures for everything that I wanted to use on my painting. And that just takes a lot more time. And also, in theory, you can mix everything you want from primary colors, but I'm finding that in actual practice, that's not the case, where if I just wasn't able to get a more vibrant, specific color that I wanted. So I'm really enjoying getting to use all these new colors on my palette. I find it more freeing and more fun, and also then I get to spend more time actually painting rather than mixing. This was another painting session where I worked in the background and the hair and the light areas. And if you can see, I love the thick brush strokes that I have in the hair and the background. I find those areas really exciting and the most interesting parts of the painting, where I would take a brush stroke with a lot of paint on it, paint thickly, put that brush stroke down, and then not over blend or try not touch that brush stroke, so then that brush stroke would stay really strong in the painting. I find the most interesting parts to be the background and the hair because of the brushwork, but I really want the most interesting part of the portrait to be the face. So I decided tomorrow I'm going to go back in and work in the light areas of the face to try and get those really delicious brushstrokes there as well. This is the end of the final day, and now I think the face is the most interesting part to look at because it's got all those nice brushstrokes there. And this is the first painting that I've done used from photo reference, just like this drawing was the first drawing that I did from photo reference, and I learned so much doing it. So kind of like with that first drawing, when I started the painting, I realized that I didn't like how it was looking style-wise, where things were looking too tight and restricted, and I was using smaller brushes, and how I was applying the paint, I was applying it pretty thinly as well. And I realized that I was just copying the photo too much, and I wasn't using the photo reference as a photo reference. So then I got out bigger brushes, I started using thicker paint, and I'm finding to get this style that I like, it's putting down a brush stroke and then also destroying it, and you're getting these areas but also destroying them at the same time because you're painting areas into each other with thicker paint and trying not to get an over blended appearance. And I find it's definitely harder to paint that way, but once I can start getting control of it, I think it's a really satisfying style to look at. And also I think it's just way more fun to paint that way because then there's a lot of mystery and surprise that's left open in that way of painting. And I don't know if that all makes sense, that style of painting, but I do hope to in the future get to film the process of me painting more. But since I've been changing up so much of my painting practice with my palette and photo reference and everything, just also then working a camera at the same time is a bit too distracting at the moment while I'm painting. And next week I'll be working on another painting that's based off this drawing.